Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope you all are great. Today we will have commas. So first you log in using the aplusstudent.com. Click on your name, move on to language at the grade 6. Chapters, commas, and lesson will be commas with series, dates, and places, commas with compound and complex sentences. Alright, so we will start now. Use commas to separate three or more items in a series. So if you have a series, you have to use the comma to separate them. Put a comma after each item in the series and in the list except for the last one. So you have to put commas in each of the items in the list except for the last. Now the last comma in the list right before the coordinating conjunction is called an Oxford comma or serial comma. The serial comma is sometimes considered optional, but most style guides demand it. So we have the series here. We have red, white, and blue. So now you put a comma before the coordinating conjunction. But for the last one, which is blue, you do not need to add a comma. So add the colors of the American flag. So this is just a typical example of a series. Expression that consists of pairs of words such as thunder and lightning and bread and butter are generally treated as single items. So these kind of expressions are treated as a single item. College costs typically include tuition, room and board, and textbooks. So you can see that this is a pair word, right? And it is considered as one. Okay, as a single word, you do not need to add comma in between the room and board. Okay. All right, so in dates with a day and a year, you use a comma after the day. Also use a comma after the year unless the date ends the sentence. So you use a comma after the day, right? If you have a sentence and you need to put a comma in between the day and the year, just like January 1, 2001. So see a comma here. And then because it's a complete sentence, you have to put a comma after the year. Okay? In this situation, it's different because it ends the sentence. So you don't need to add a comma after the year. Okay? Just put your comma in between the day and the year. So next up we have when the name of a city is used with the name of its state or country. You have to use the comma after the city. Also use the comma after the state or country unless it ends the sentence. So you have to put a comma in between the state and the country, okay? So just like Chicago, Illinois, then we have the comma here in between them. It's known as the Windy City. So because it's like a continuation to another sentence, you put a comma after Illinois. Then we have just moved booked our flight to attend Greece. Now you can see that Greece ends the sentence, so no need to add a comma because it's ending. But of course, you have to put a comma in between the state and country, or city and country. Okay, let's look at some examples. Alright, to complete the text, correct the text by inserting one comma. So we have in movie theater, the first drive-in movie theater in the United States opened near Camden, New Jersey on June 6, 1933. So you can see that there's no comma in between the day and the year. So you have to make sure that you put a comma in between the 6 and then the year. Okay? So yeah. So we have this one over here. You have to insert three commas. We have cranberries are used in jellies, juice, baked goods, and sauces, all of which are often served on Thanksgiving. So you have to correct that. So what is the right one here? We need to have comma after each of the series, okay? And that's it. Okay. move on to the test. You can share your answers with me. All right, so we have correct the text by inserting two commas. So you need to insert two commas because one of this text is missing two commas. So Elvis Presley was born in Tupelo, Mississippi in 1935, and it is still possible to take a tour of his birthplace. So first to second. Okay, so we have the first one. Right. Okay. That's good, guys. So in 2013, Nelson Mandela, freedom fighter and former South African president, died at the age of 95 at his home in Johannesburg, Africa. So first to second, just one comma here. All right, so we have the first one also. Okay, so this is just two commas. The United States is not the only country with a red, white, and blue flag. The flags of over 30 other nations use the same colors. So, first to second. John, do you hear me now? Tell me if you can. So also the first year. Okay. So we have one comma. Then, in one of hockey's most exciting overtime games, Bobby Orr scored the winning goal to lead the Boston Bruins to a Stanley Cup title of May 10, 1970. So first or second. All right, so we have the second. Of course, we need a comma in between the day and the year. Okay, Rhode Island was the last state to ratify the Constitution. It didn't do so until May 29, 1790. So one comma, which is the right one here. All right, so we have the first. Okay, so two commas here. While lost at sea, the fisherman survived on turtles, fish, birds, and birds that he caught by hand. So what's the right one here? All right, so we have the second one. The Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta, Georgia requires more than 8 million gallons of water for its animals' habitat. So two commas. First and second. All right, we have the second. So that's it for this lesson. We'll move on to the next. You try to complete this if you haven't done it, okay? All right, so in a compound sentence, you use a comma before the coordinating conjunction that joins the two independent clauses. Examples of coordinating conjunctions are and, or, but, so. So you have to use a comma before this coordinating conjunction. We saw a flash of lightning, and seconds later we had the rumble of thunder. So this is a coordinating conjunction, and we have the comma before that. Okay, and then in a complex sentence, if a dependent clause comes before an independent clause, use a comma after the dependent clause. Okay, a dependent clause is one that starts with a subordinating conjunction, such as after, although, as, because, before, if, since, unless, until, when, or while. So you have to take notes. For coordinating, for compound sentence, you have to put the comma before the coordinating conjunction. And complex sentence, if a dependent clause come first, you have to put a comma in between them. Okay, so dependent clause starts with any of this. So let's look at some examples. So insert one comma here. When an earthquake jolted Pakistan in 2013, the force caused ocean mud to rise to the surface, creating a small island in the middle of the Arabian Sea. So where should we have the comma? So you have to just insert one comma. So where should that be? So we'll have that after the dependent clause, which starts with when here. Okay? So to the test. Correct the text by inserting one comma. Because Sir George Everest was the first to record its location and height, Mount Everest was named for him in 1865. So which is the right one, first to second? Alright, so we have the first. So unless we play miniatures golf, I will probably stay home to catch up on miscellaneous chores. First to second, insert one comma. Alright, so we have what? First one again. Okay, we can meet at the entrance of to the stadium, or we can just look for each other in the bleachers. So which of them, first or second? Alright, so we have the second because this has a coordinating conjunction. Okay, so Americans toss out 2.5 million plastic bottles every hour, and approximately 1,500 bottles wind up in landfills and the ocean every second. Inside one comma, first or second. Alright, so we have the first. It has a coordinating conjunction. Okay, so since Liverpool, England is the birthplace of the Beatles, the city offers a tour that includes a visit to the childhood home of Paul McCartney. So first to second. So we have the first one, the second rather. The restaurant received a huge shipment of seafood, so the chief was inspired to create an entry of pecan encrusted sea bass. So first to second, inside one comma. So we have the second. Alright, that's it for our lesson on the commas today. Can you tell me if you have any questions? Alright, so since there's no question, make sure you complete these lessons that we've done so far today if you haven't. When we say again, we'll finish up the remaining three lessons under commas. Have a good evening. See you all next time. Bye. Oh, if you blocked each other, you just need to tap on the name, and I'm sure that you can unblock. Just tap on the name. Honey, you can tap on the name, and you can also tap and you can easily just unblock. Okay?